Welcome back to Marion's World, and it's another really cold day here in the UK. We've actually got snow forecast again for later on today. Anyway, I've got a super quick make, and it's a skirt. It's what do they say now? A thrift flip? I find that difficult to say. Anyway, it's two of the things that I got during the boot sale, and they were in the video last year. So if you go back to see a denim dress and a pretty skirt, I've been making them into another skirt, and so you'll see me wearing it at the end of the video. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you just how I did it, and I didn't need to use a measuring tape at all. It was all just fit to my body. I hope you enjoy it. These two pieces of clothing are two of the pieces that I got at the boot sale last year. This lovely denim pale blue dress and the bunny cotton skirt. And I've been waiting, they've just been under my table waiting to be altered so that I can make them into the thing that I wanted to make. And so I've just measured this on me, and I know I need it to have a waistband on top. So first of all, I'm just going to cut this whole skirt off here. So I'm actually just going to cut it underneath the bust darts. And that's the first, so I can make, I've got enough on the back of here to make a waistband, so I'm actually just going to cut the sleeves out now, and then the sleeves can go for something else. You never know what they might end up being used for. So anyway, they're going in my stash as well. So I'm going to make a patchwork type skirt, and I'm going to use the waistband of this for the back waistband of my new skirt. So I've made sure I've got the fabric as flat as I can. Just going to take the length. I'm not even using a measuring tape. I will just cut the length by measuring one to the other. And I'm going to cut that straight across, because I know it's going to be refined later, so I'm quite happy just to cut it straight across. You definitely could do measuring better than I've done there, but I think I'm just so used to cutting lines, and I get the idea of where I want it to be. And I always try to be generous so that I've got the option of cutting it lower. So now I've got my two pieces of fabric. So I have cut the waistband off the skirt, and I've cut that down the seam. But what I've now got is two pieces of fabric. So the gathered pretty skirt, I've cut it up one of the side seams, so that's just really a rectangle of fabric now for me to do something with. And the denim skirt, I've also cut up one of the side seams, and so that is also just really a tiered piece of fabric for me to do something with. So I could be measuring myself and taking measurements and making a pattern, but sometimes things are just simpler than you think they can be. And so what I've decided is I want 6 panels. I want a panel of denim, and then a panel of this going around my skirt, and probably a flat waistband at the front and a gathered waistband at the back to make it easy to put on and off. And all I'm going to do is, I've got my skirt folded in half, and I'm just going to fold this into 3 now, and as evenly as I can by the hem. So it's the hem that I'm bothered about. So if I just fold it in half by the hem, fold it in thirds like that by the hem, if I cut up the folds now, I'll have 6 panels, and I'm going to do that with both sets of fabric. I'm going to cut through both things together, hem and straight up. If one panel ends up being half an inch bigger than another, nobody's going to know. I won't even know. All I'll know is that I've got a pretty skirt at the end. I've got my pieces together, so there's 2 panels. 1 and 2. So I'll do that again, fold it in half. I'm bothering about the hem, not the waistband part, because that's where it's going to be easier. even, I can just go on and cut. So now I have 6 panels, skirt panels ready for a skirt, and I need another 6 off the other skirt. So now I've got 6 panels of both skirts, and I'm going to start and sew them, and I'll sew them together hem upwards so that all the adjustment of length will happen at the waist end. And I'm just going to sew it into one great big long panel and decide on the waist after it's sewn together. So I've got my machine threaded with some pale blue on the top and some grey in the bottom that was already there, and I'm about to sew the skirt together. And all I'm going to do is just take one piece of each skirt and right sides together with the hem uppermost, and I'll just back stitch, and then neither of these material are heavy frayers, so I think going up with one straight seam, I'm just going just a bit more than the width of the presser foot. Well, not more than 1/4 of an inch, but less than a 5/8. And then I'll do all 6 panels and then back down them with a zigzag. I've now changed my stitch to zigzag. I've shortened the length down to just under 3, and I'm going to do every seam again right up close to where I've stitched flat, and then I'm trimming back at the same time. So it's all pressed and I've evened up the top. But now what I would like is I'd like these panels to be gathered. So I know this is going to be where my waistband gets attached. I'm going to pull up a length of the needle thread that's just equal to a bit more than the piece that I'm sewing. And I'm going to put my presser foot down. I'm going to ease this in. I've got a zigzag and I've got the biggest zigzag, and I am just going to zigzag across this laid thread. So there's my thread lying along the fabric, and I'm just going to carefully make sure that the thread lies between, in the gap of the presser foot, and I'm zigzagging over the top. I just need to make sure that the thread doesn't get caught, and then that means that I can pull on this thread now, and it's just going to gather up really easily, and I can gather it as much or as little as I like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that up quite tightly, because I think there's quite a lot of fabric to do away with, and I'm going to put a pin in, and I'm going to wrap this around the pin in a figure of 8 just to stop it pulling back and undoing. And I'm going to do every little piece of flowery fabric like that before I even try it on my waist. And I'm sewing the pleats down, but what I'm also doing is I don't like the fact that the pleats are coming from the waistband here and then this has got a tear. So what I've decided to do is pull that up really tight like that and sew it down. I don't need those gathers to come out or anything, so I'm just going to put a straight stitch right through them, and then I'm hopping over, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold all those pleats beautifully, and I'm going to sew them down along the line between this line here, so that the pleats are coming from the identical place on both the different fabrics. Let's come out, just trim that back and trim the waistline. and I'm going to do that with every little piece. It's made a good difference putting the extra line of stitching along, and it's looking decent when I hold it up. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sew this into a tube down the remaining edge, and I'm going to work out how much of this waistband I need at the back. Definitely don't need all that, but it's too small to go around my waist. So I'm going to do a combination of this at the back and hope that there's enough denim to make the front. I really like the way that's lying now. It just needed that extra bit of sewing there to allow that to gather out at the same point. I'm trying to get the waistband out of the bodice, and it's a size 10. It was never going to fit me. So what I've done is I've just cut the back of the bodice, and I'm just measuring it off the gathered waistband of the other one. So I'm going to have a fold on the top. It'll fold that way actually. This is inside out at the minute. And I just want it to be the same depth as I've got now, including my seam allowance. And I think that's it. So if I cut that bit out, that's still not big enough for me to attach to anything. So I'm going to cut another strip and I'll piece it together. I just think, well, if it uses it up, I don't mind the extra. I don't mind an extra seam if it means I can use something up. And there's only me probably going to know about it. So on the neck I just need to cut another strip like that from there, and I'll just get enough, I think. Definitely don't want a seam down the middle of my waistband. What I'll do is I will cut this bit in half and sew a piece onto each end. That's the easiest. And now I can iron that, and then I'll iron that open and then iron it in half, and then I'll come back when I've got my waistband measurement. So back to the iron. I still have these to cut to length, but I've just tried this waistband along my front, and I sort of just evened up where the seams were, put my hands to the side of my waist, and I've cut this one to where I think it's the right length, and I'm going to sew it onto the gathered bit before I do anything else. So I'm only sewing half on, and I'll just top stitch it on. So now I've got a front waistband attached to a back waistband. This one will fold over and then either stitch in the ditch or I'll hand sew it once it's over the seam. This one I'll sort out when I'm fixing it on. So now I'm just going to try the waistband and get the right length for the other side. And I'm just going to try it on without the skirt entirely. I'll just try the waistband on. I want enough stretch in here that I can get it on and off, but I want the waistband at the front to be nice and flat. So I'm off to try that now. Well, I still haven't needed to use a tape measure yet. All I've done is I have put the waistband around my waist. I knew where I needed those seams to be, so I've cut that evenly. So that's going to centralise on the front. And then I made sure that the waistband would stretch over my hips, and I've got my finger on it. And so really what I need to do is cut that off with enough to make a seam, and I've got enough to make a seam here. So I'm going to do exactly the same as I've done there. I'm going to put these two together. I've got my fold already, so I'm just going to top stitch that half on. And then before I attach it to the skirt, I will try it on and make sure I can get it over my hips. I think I will be. My waistband's complete. It's in a complete circle. I've got my skirt halved, so I've got the one panel of denim right in the middle. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just pin the front of the waistband. I'll just do middles to middles. I'll pin this together or clip it. Clip this together. and then whatever's left over, I'll stretch the back waistband to fit the amount of material I've got, and I'll try and do that evenly. But I'm just going to attach the front waistband first anyway. So I'll put a clip at halfway on the skirt, and then I'll match that up with halfway of the waistband, and that means I will be keeping everything as evenly as I can. I can do that again. I don't need to stretch it in yet. I'll just do the half and half. And that means as I go around and I've got all my excess, I can pull the waistband and stretch it in, so I keep it stretchy. Obviously I'll have to put my raw edges together. And so I'll start at the edge of my front waistband, raw edges together. I want to take just over my 1/4 inch, and then off I go. And as I get to my back waistband, I'll start and pull so I can stretch that out onto my skirt underneath. Now for the back waistband, I'm going to lift up this front that's been serged, and I'm only going to sew through the back of it, or well, it's the front really, but the back piece of fabric, because I don't want a raw edge if I can help it. So if I pull that back, I can just stitch through this bit, and then that can go down over the top and stop me having a raw edge. So I'm going to just keep pulling my waistband out and easing all these gathers in. Well, the waistband is actually fixed on now, and I'm on the home straight. I've trimmed back the seam all the way round. I've decided I am going to put a bit of interfacing in here, so I'm going to cut that now and iron that onto the front waistband. So the next day I put my interfacing in, I've ironed my waistband, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pin it over the top of that seam line, but I am going to be sewing it from the front. But I want to make sure that I'm catching that that material when I'm sewing from the front, because I'm going to sew in the ditch of the waistband. So this is just to make sure that I have the seam and all the raw edges covered in, like that. So now I just need to stitch in the ditch of where the waistband and the skirt join, and I'm going to take my pins out as I go, and I can feel the ridge of the fabric with my fingers, so I know that I'm going to make sure that I get it. I'm just going to go slowly along and be careful. Don't want to have to take anything out. Make sure every time I stop that my needle's in the cloth. That everything is exactly, you can see I feel for that other ridge. Last bit and finished. I think that's looking pretty good. Let's hope it looks good when I try it on. My waistband's all finished, there's no more machining to do. I tried it on and just decided that I'd add some simple embroidery along the front of the waistband. And so I've got an off-white in my needles, just stranded cotton. I've got 3 strands in. Just going to do herringbone across the front, maybe a few lazy daisies. But I haven't marked anything, I'm doing it just freehand, and hopefully this will just... Sometimes a bit of simple hand stitching can make a big difference to when you're making your own clothes. It just makes it look so individual. And so I'm just taking quite big stitches actually. I'm going to go right along the front. Come back maybe with lazy daisies, or maybe I've thought about beads, but I don't quite think it's a beaded sort of a skirt. And let's see what else I managed to make. Just put some simple things together. I'm only going through the top fabric. I don't need to have anything showing on the back. I decided to come back along with a detached chain, or a pair of detached chains, just along the middle of the front, and I'm just putting them into the little V shape that the herringbone makes, and a little pair seemed just nice enough for me. And then right on the front I've put an extra one in, so it's got the very front of the waistband's got 3. And just letting them lie along the angle of the herringbone stitch. I'll just take that to the back at the bottom of the waistband and finish it off. So I'm just going through so I can make a little knot there that's out of the way. Finished. Try on time. I like the colours and the way the denim and the little print has gone together. All in all, that's been a super quick make. It looks really pretty, I like it, and yeah, I didn't even need to use a measuring tape at all. Just fit them to your body, that's all you need to do. Perfect length for me. I just like them on my knees. It's about 21-22 inches for me, because I'm not very tall. But there we go, a new skirt, a bit of embroidery, denim and a bit of colour. So a nice quick make. Well, here we're back to pick a winner for the Sewing for Pleasure tickets. So I just need one winner today, and I've already pasted in the URL of the Mount Mellick embroidery video, which is where the comments are for the Sewing for Pleasure giveaway. I'll fetch them. I have to put in the keyword. Which is Sewing for Pleasure. And I load the comments. And here I can pick a winner. Good luck, everyone. And it's Rebecca Ainsworth. Another wonderful technique for you to follow. So beautiful, looks stunning on the red dress. I enjoy your channel so much. Weekly dose of sheer pleasure. Well, there you are, Rebecca. You are the winner, and congratulations to you. So congratulations to Rebecca for winning the pair of Sewing for Pleasure tickets. So Rebecca, you need to get in touch with me via either Instagram or by an email to the shop, and then I need to take some details from you so that Sewing for Pleasure can sort out your pair of tickets. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing that skirt come together in front of the camera, and it didn't take very long at all. It was maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours sewing all together by the time I was cutting everything up and doing the bit of embroidery in the waistband. And that little bit of embroidery just lifts it from being just a put together thing into something more personal for me, and that's what I quite like to do. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that coming all together. Thank you very much for all the lovely comments I've had about the Mount Mellick embroidery and about the reverse applique cardigan I was wearing at the beginning of the video. I'm super happy that you've all enjoyed that. And the other thing is that for the winners of the subscriber draw, I've had 4 of the 5 people have been in touch. So if you're somebody who entered that draw but you haven't been back on to see whether you won or not, maybe you thought you didn't have a chance, you'll have to go and watch it, because there's still a person that hasn't been in touch with me, and if they don't get in touch within the next week, I will draw another person's name. But I'm pleased to say that the winner, who was Brenda, she was in touch straight away, and so I'm already in touch with her, and I'll be sorting out the runner-up things to go within the next few days or so, and then Brenda's will have to be stitched for her, and as soon as I've got something like that done, I will show you what I send off. So all of that's been super successful, and thanks for everybody who commented or entered or everything, which is good. So with all that done, all it needs for me to do is say thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you for all your support and all the lovely comments you keep giving to me on my videos. Bye till next time. Come and see me next time you want to drop in and see what I'm up to. Bye everyone. Thanks very much.